Hello students, this side Pushpen Singh Rajawat and I here welcome you all on the lecture number first of a very fresh chapter, that is the atoms and molecules. So here students, what we are going to see in this particular chapter, you all have heard about that this particular element, that particular molecule, that particular compound, so they are all made up of very tiny particles because they all comes under the category of matter, and that smallest particle, we term that smallest particle as the atom. So how the atom come into existence and what are the theories that are given in the chemistry. Also we are going to see what are the laws that determine that how a particular reaction would take place. In this very chapter we are also going to see the mole concept. So let us write one by one that what we are going to see in this particular chapter, whose name is atoms and molecules. So students, the chapter name is atoms and molecules, so it is well understood to you that first of all we are going to see what are the atoms and what are the molecules. So here we are going to see about the atoms and its discovery in the history. Talking about the structure of atom, that what atom is made up of, for that we are going to wait for the next chapter, that is the structure of atoms. In that chapter we are going to see that what are the fundamental particles of atom and what is their discoveries, that how they are arranged in a atom. So that discovery will leave it to the structure of atom, chapter number 4. So here we are going to see about the atoms and its history, that is the theories that are proposed by various scientists and the philosophers. In it we are also going to see the Dalton's atomic theory. Moving next, after the Dalton atomic theory, we are going to see that how to represent a particular atom or an element. So for the representation we are going to move into the symbols. So the symbols, as you know, for the hydrogen we are using the H, but as we use this before, no, at the earlier times we are using some different kind of symbols. So for that we are going to see in the Dalton's atomic theory and the symbols. Moving into the next topic that we are going to study in this chapter is how do atom actually exist. So what we are going to see next, that is how do atoms exist. So atoms mainly exist in the form of molecules and ions. So the compound which is formed by the molecules, they are simply termed as the molecular compounds, while the molecule or the compound which is formed by the ions, that is simply termed as the ionic compound. So students, we are also going to see in this chapter, that is what are the molecular compounds, what are the ionic compounds, how to write the molecular compound and the ionic compound, that what are the steps that we need to remember for the writing of the molecular compounds and ionic compound. Just suppose if I say sodium chloride, so on saying the sodium chloride, you all know the formula of sodium chloride is NaCl. So how I have written this NaCl? First of all, I need to remember certain kind of rules for writing this like this. Either I could have written it like this, that is ClNa. So why I have not written it like this, only I have written it like this. This is because there are certain rules that we are going to follow in the writing of the chemical formula. So here, after reading this, we will be moving into the chemical formula of both the molecular compounds and the ionic compounds. This part here is also very important, because if you are reading chemistry and if you don't know how to write the molecular formula for any compound or the ionic formula of any compound, then you can't be understanding the basic concepts of chemistry in the higher classes. So here, after this is very important, so after reading this, that how to write the chemical formula for the molecular compounds and the ionic compounds, we are going to see some of the forces or the bonds, that is the ionic bonds and the covalent bonds. The very important type of bond is also present here, that is termed as the coordinate bond. So here in the molecular compounds, what type of bonds are present? the covalent bonds are present, or in some compounds the coordinate bond is also present, while in the case of ionic compounds the ionic bond is present. So what is the meaning of bond? So bonds are what? These are the attractive forces due to which the atoms stick together in a very particular chemical compound. So I am going to see and I am going to make you write and make you understand that how to write the chemical formula and how to determine whether in any compound the covalent compound is given, or in any compound the covalent bond is given or the ionic bond is given. You are easily going to determine. Just for example, if I have written here NaCl and H2O, so how can you determine this is what? This is the ionic compound or this is the covalent compound? So for that we are going to understand what is the meaning of bonds and what are the different kinds of bonds that are present between the atoms. After that, students, after reading all these and making your concepts strong, we are going to move into the atoms that we have seen here, the molecules that we have seen here. So atoms and molecules must be having some kind of masses. So here the very important part, that is the atomic mass and molecular mass. So we are going to see here the atomic masses and the molecular masses in details, because if we are talking about the chemistry, we deal with the atoms. Actually we deals with the matter, that how the matters interact with each other. So if the matter is interacting with each other, talking about their composition, so actually it is the atom that is taking part in every chemical reaction. So the atom must be having some kind of mass. So to representation for that mass, we are using here the atomic masses, and for the molecules we are going to use the molecular masses. So there are different types of atomic masses and molecular masses. You have seen the unit U, unit G. So these are what? These are the units of atomic masses. We are going to see that in detail also. Here, after reading this and making our concept strong, we are moving into the calculations of atoms and molecules. That is, as I have already told you in the very first lecture of chemistry, that here we are going to talk about the matter. Then in the second chapter we will classify whether the matter is pure or unpure. So here this was the chapter number 2, and after that we are going to move into the calculations of the particles of matter. So atoms and molecules are what? These are the particles of matter, and here we are going to see their calculations. So for the calculations we are going to see the mole concept. So here this is what? This is the most important topic of this chapter, or I can say this is the heart of this chapter. So before reading this, I have to move through all of these so that it becomes very clear to us. So here this part is very important, the mole concept part. We are going to see some of the calculations which are based upon the mole concept. After that we are also going to see some of the concentration terms. Just like the molarity, molality, mole fraction. So these are what? These are some of the concentration terms that we are also going to deal in this very particular chapter, whose name is the atoms and molecules. So I hope, students, that this particular chart is clear to you, in which we are going to move and see what are the atoms, what are the molecules, some of the theories here, and as we move forward we will dive into the mole concept. That is the very important part. Also we are going to see some of the chemical laws which make up these chemistry. So students, I think that this is all clear to you. So now moving back into our chapter, and let us see that what we are going to study in the today's lecture. So students, talking about the topics that we are going to study in the today's lecture, first of all we are going to see the introduction of atoms and the molecules. Second, we are going to see the Dalton's atomic theory. What is the Dalton's atomic theory? What are its merits and its demerits, and what are the symbols for the Dalton's atomic theory? After which we are going to see the atoms in details, and ending this lecture with the last topic as given here. So students, let us start with what are the atoms and the molecules. So students, first of all, there are many theories regarding the atoms and the molecules, but the idea of the tiniest unit of matter, that is, if we keep on dividing anything, That, remember students, we can keep on dividing anything, we can divide any particular matter. So the concept was given by the Maharshi Kanad that if we keep on dividing anything, a particular stage is reached where you cannot divide that particle, and the smallest particle that you cannot divide, or the smallest particle in any substance, is termed as the Parmanu, by which the Maharshi Kanad, an Indian philosopher, so he termed the smallest unit of any substance as the Parmanu, while the Parmanu forms what? The Anu. In Hindi, students, the atom is termed as the Parmanu, while the molecule is termed as the Anu. So students, you need to remember this particular, that it was the first time given by the Maharshi Kanad that the very tiniest particle of any substance is what? It is the Parmanu. So here, just reading that it was proposed by the Indian philosopher Maharshi Kanad that if we go on dividing matter, we will get the smaller and smaller particles of matter. So he named the smallest particle as the Parmanu. So first of all, what you see here, that is the atom is what? Atom is the smallest unit of any particle, which was given by at the first time by the Indian philosopher Maharshi Kanad. So moving to the next theory, which was given by the Democritus, that are the Greek philosophers. So Democritus and Leucippus, they gave the theory of the same type, that is the matter is made up of very small particles. They are called as the atomos. So they did what? They simply did forward this theory and they say that if you keep on dividing anything or any substance, a stage is reached where the particle cannot be divided, or simply the smallest unit of any particle is what? It is the atomos. So they gave the Greek word here, that is the atomos, which means what? Which means indivisible. So students, starting with what? Starting with the Indian philosopher, that is was around 500 BC, talking to the Greek philosopher that was around the 300 to 200 BC. So they gave this theory. Along with them, there are many theories, that is the Panch Tattvas theory, the 4 elements theories. So there are many theories. So here we are not discussing all of those theories. We are simply discussing about the earliest word of the atom that was given by the Maharshi Kanad, and the name was the Parmanu. Then the Greek philosopher gave the another word for the smallest or the tiniest particle of any substance which cannot be further subdivided. So the name was the atomos. So in 1808, John Dalton, nearly around 2000 years ago, he came forward with a theory which was given by the Democritus and the Leucippus. So he called the smallest particle of the matter as the atom, which was taken from the Greek word, that is the atomos, which means indivisible. So the atoms are what? Atoms are the smallest particle of any matter that exists in the combined state, and due to the different kinds of atoms which are present in any particular substance, they form what? They form the different combinations, and due to the different combinations, we get the different kinds of matter. So that matter is termed as the molecule, where there is a combination of atoms forming the different kind of substances. So here you know about what is the atoms and what are the molecules. So atoms are what? Atoms are the smallest particle of any substance or any matter which cannot be further subdivided, as given by the John Dalton. And when the atoms combine to form different kinds of substances, they have the different properties. So that were termed as the molecules. So students, I hope that this history is now clear to you. So now students, we are going to move into the Dalton's atomic theory. That the Dalton gave his atomic theory with some of the postulates at that time, and his theory seems to be understanding the basic concepts of chemistry. So here in 1808, John Dalton proposed the atomic theory of matter, assuming the atoms are the ultimate indivisible particles of matter, which also based upon the law of conservation of mass, which was given by the Lavoisier, and the law of definite proportion, which was given by the Proust, that we are going to see in this particular chapter, that what are the different laws. So here John Dalton's theory also explains the law of conservation of mass and the law of definite proportion. Remember students, these two laws came before the time of John Dalton, given his Dalton's atomic theory. That is, this law was came under in 1774, this came in the 1779, and the John Dalton gave his atomic theory in 1808. So, studying what are the postulates of Dalton's atomic theory. So, here the elements consist of the small indivisible particles that are termed as the atoms, and atoms combine and atoms takes part in a chemical reaction. Students, this point is the most important, that atoms take part in a chemical reaction, and atoms are what? Atoms are the smallest indivisible particle of any matter. This was given by the Dalton. Second point, that atoms of the same elements are alike in all respect. Just for an example, if you have the iron sheet, so in the iron sheet, what is there? There are the tiniest particles of this iron element, so they are termed as the atom. So here it is having what? It is having various number of iron atoms. So these all are what? These all are the iron atoms present in the iron element. So students, as per this point, that atoms of the same element are alike in all respects. So here all the atoms that are present in the iron sheet, they are all same, that is they have the same mass, they have the same volume, they have the same physical and chemical properties. So here all the atoms, just for an example, this atom, it is very much alike to this atom. So here the all atoms are what? They all atoms are alike in all respect. Now moving to the third postulate, that is atoms of the different elements. Students, see this, the atoms of the different elements are different in all respect. Just for an example, if I have taken here the iron sheet, if I talk about the aluminium sheet, so here I have taken what? The aluminium sheet. So talking about the aluminium sheet contains what? It contains various kinds of atoms. So here it contains the aluminium atoms. So students, these are what? These are the aluminium atoms which are present in the aluminium sheets. So here students, what you see, that this particular atom, it is very similar to this particular atom, because they are what? They are the atoms of the same element. So they are alike in all respect, that is their physical and their chemical properties, they are all the same. But if I talk about, if I compare this particular atom of aluminium with the atom of iron, so they are what? They are different in all respect, because they are the atoms of different elements. So here this was the postulate which was given by Dalton, that is the atoms of the different elements are different in all respects. Now students, you see the next point, that is atoms can neither be created nor be destroyed. Yes students, so he said what? That whenever a molecule takes place, or whenever a compound forms, it is formed by the combination of atoms. So atoms does what? In a chemical reaction, atoms break its bond and make new bonds with another atom. So atoms cannot be destroyed. Atom is the smallest particle of any element or any substance. So here this point is very much important, because this point, that atoms can neither be created nor be destroyed, this postulate of Dalton atomic theory, it explains the law of conservation of mass, which says that in any chemical reaction, the total mass of reactants will be equal to the total mass of the product. That is, the mass never changes in any chemical reaction, because the atoms can neither be created nor be destroyed. So if a reaction is taking place, if you cannot destroy a particular atom, or if you cannot make a new atom, then where the mass would go? The mass would remain always constant. So here the atom can neither be created nor be destroyed. This particular point explains the law of conservation of mass. So now talking about the atoms combine in a fixed small whole number ratio to form compounds that are called as the molecule. Just for an example, if hydrogen is reacting with oxygen, they are forming what? They are forming the water, which is having the chemical formula of H2O. So here hydrogen is an element, oxygen is also an element. So here I can also say that hydrogen atom is combining with the oxygen atom in a fixed whole number ratio. So what is the fixed whole number ratio here? So here the atom which is combining with the oxygen, that is the total number of hydrogen atoms that are present here is 2, while the total number of oxygen atoms that are present here in the water is only 1. So here I can say that the hydrogen and oxygen, they combine in the 2:1 ratio by volume to form a compound. So here This postulate was also given by Dalton, that is the atoms combine in a fixed small whole number ratio to form the compound. So here you can see that the atoms are combining in a small whole number ratio, and this point here also explains the law of definite proportion, which says that whenever a compound is formed, it is always formed when the elements combine in a simple whole number ratio by mass. So here the law of constant proportion is talking about the ratio between the masses, and here in the Dalton's atomic theory we are talking about the ratios for the elements in the volume, that is the volume of hydrogen and the volume of oxygen that are present in any compound, which is 2:1 always, that is 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. So students, I hope that these postulates are very much clear to you. This theory was given by Dalton in the 1808, almost about 200 years from now. So we are going to move and see the merits of the Dalton's atomic theory. This was the best theory at that particular time, which explains each and everything about the chemistry, that how the chemistry or the chemical reaction goes on. So here Dalton's theory explains the law of conservation of mass, as I have just told you, and also the law of constant proportion. So which point explains the law of conservation of mass? Here students, this point explains the law of conservation of which point explains the law of conservation of mass? This point explains the law of conservation of mass, that the atoms can neither be created nor be destroyed. And which point explains the law of definite proportion? This last point, that is atoms combine in a fixed small whole number ratio to form compounds. So this explains the law of definite proportion or the law of constant proportion. So what is the second merit of Dalton's atomic theory? The second merit of Dalton's atomic theory is that the atoms takes parts in a chemical reaction. This is true till today, because we all know that whenever a chemical reaction is taking place, it is because of the atoms that is taking part in a chemical reaction. And in those reactions, as we know today, what happens here? There is either the transfer of electrons takes place or the sharing of electrons takes place, due to which the different kind of bonds are forming in the chemistry. So students, you get here what are the merits of Dalton's atomic theory. Let us discuss some of the demerits of Dalton's atomic theory. Just remember students, this theory was given by Dalton 200 years ago. So here we have advances, and we are going to see what are the demerits of the Dalton's atomic theory. So the atom is no longer supposed to be indivisible. Yes students, the atom is not the smallest indivisible particle. It contains many fundamental subatomic particles that are like electron, protons and neutrons, and many other different particles that you are going to study in your higher classes. So the atom is not a simple particle but a very complex one. Now talking to the next, that is it could not explains that why do atoms of the same element combine with each other. That is, he could not give any explanation about the atoms of the elements combining with each other. Next point, that is the atoms of the same element may not necessarily be alike in all respect. He says that if I have given you the example of iron, that is the element have same kind of atoms, and the atoms which are present in a particular element are alike in all respect. But that is not the case if I talk about the isotopes. So isotopes are what? Isotopes are the atoms of a same element which shows same chemical properties but different physical properties due to the different number of neutrons. We are going to discuss that what are the neutrons, what are the protons, and what are the electrons, and what are the isotopes and the isobars. But for now you need to remember these points, that all the atoms of a particular element are not alike in all respect. They are alike in many respects but not in the all respect. So here the atoms of the same elements may not necessarily be identical in all respects. So its example is what? That is the isotopes. They are not the same atoms. Talking about the atoms of the different elements, the Dalton atomic theory says that the atoms of the different elements are different from each other. They are not identical or they do not have anything common in them. But if I talk about the isobars, isobars are the atoms of the different elements that have the same mass number but different atomic number. So what is this atomic number? What are these mass number? We are going to see that in detail. Just have some patience. So here students, just remember this name, that is the isobars, and the isotopes. So due to the isotopes and the isobars, Dalton's atomic theories point that the atoms are alike in all respects, that atoms of the same element are alike in all respects and the atoms of different elements are different in all respects. These two postulates are also false. So we have talked everything about the Dalton, its merits and its demerits. So now students, it's time to move into the next slide and see about the notes, that is the all matter is made up of small particles called the atoms and the molecules. Different kinds of atoms have different properties due to the different kinds of atoms present in them. And the next point, that is the term element, was coined by the Lavoisier. And talking about the Lavoisier, he was also called as the father of chemistry. So students, this was about the notes. So let us now talk about the atom. So what is the atom? Atom is the smallest particle of an element that take parts in a chemical reaction, and all the matter is made up of the atom. So students, what is an atom? You all know that these take part in the chemical reactions. Talking about the atoms, atoms of the most of the elements are reactive and can exist in the combined state, while some of the atoms are very less reactive, that are termed as the noble gases, and they exist in the free state. We are also going to see that what are the noble gases and why do they exist in the free state. So atoms of most of the elements are very reactive and they do not exist in the free state. Only some of the elements can exist in the free state, or simply the atoms of some elements exist in the free state. They exist in the combined state with the atoms of the same element or with the atoms of the different element. Just for an example, if I talk about the oxygen, so the oxygen is what? Oxygen is an element, and talk about the oxygen atom. Oxygen atoms always occur just like in the form of O2. If there is another atom which combines with oxygen, it forms O3. So here you see the two atoms of oxygen and here you see three atoms of oxygen. So here students, what you get here, that atoms are reactive, so they either combine with the same element. Here you can see two atoms of oxygen are combining, and here you can see two atoms of the same element, that is oxygen, are combining. While in this case, that is H2O, here the oxygen is combining with the hydrogen element. So here atoms can either combine with the same element or with the different elements to become stable. So we are also going to see that what is the criteria for the stability of the atoms. Now talking about the atoms and their sizes, their size is very small. So how small is an atom, we are also going to see. But for you, remember that atoms are very small. Is anything smaller than the atom? We are also going to see that in the fourth chapter, that atom is not the very smallest particle. It is very small, but it also contains very small particles present inside the atoms. So now talking about the scale in which we can measure the size of an atom. So here students, the atomic radius is the term which is given for the measurement of the radius of an atom. So here it is measured in the nanometers, and 1 nanometer is equal to 10 to the power minus 9 meters. This came from the calculation that in 1 meter there are 10 to the power 9 nanometers, so that 1 nanometer will be equals to 10 to the power minus 9 meter. So students, atoms are so small that we cannot see them under the powerful microscope. Not even the optical microscope we are going to be able to see them. Only with the help of electron microscope the atoms are visible to us. So the hydrogen is what? Hydrogen atom is the smallest atom of all the atoms, and its atomic radius is equals to 0.037 nanometer. That is the smallest of all the atoms. So here students, what is the nanometer? What is the meter? You all know that a meter is the unit of length which is about from the point of my finger to the middle part of my body. So this is what? This length will be equal to 1 meter. So what is the nanometer and how much small is the nanometer? So here students, for that we are going to see that how small is an atom. So for that students, just relax and view this video in which you are going to find out that how small is an atom. So let us start this video and see this.
Just how small is an atom? To find out, let's zoom into the head of this pin, which measures just a little over 1 millimeter in diameter. That's 10 to the minus 3 meters. Sitting atop the pin, we find a common louse, a tiny creature with quite the affinity for human hair, a strand of which is shown here. Zooming into this hair, we enter the world of the microscopic, where we find a fundamental unit of all living organisms, the cell. A typical cell measures about 0.01 millimeters across. That's 10 to the minus 5th meters. A common unit at this level is the micron, which is 10 to the minus 6th meters. So we see that a typical cell is about 10 microns across. Studying living organisms at this level is called microbiology. Shown here is a red blood cell, adjacent to another type of blood cell, the funny-looking lymphocyte. These cells are about the same size of many bacteria. Oh, there just went some enterobacteria, a kind of bacteria commonly found in your gut. You should know that bacteria are much larger than viruses. Let's zoom in further, and you'll see this particular lymphocyte is now in a battle with hundreds of viruses, those green little globs. Viruses are quite small, aren't they? This particular virus is HIV. The HIV virus is only about 1/10 of a micron in diameter. Here in this electron microscopic image, you can begin to see the details of its structure, which is nicely illustrated as seen here. At the heart of this virus, you'll find coils of deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA, the molecule of life. DNA holds the genetic information for the organism. Studying living organisms at this level is called molecular biology. Looking at something like a DNA molecule, we're within the realm of the nanometer, which is 10 to the minus 9th meters, or 1/1000th of a meter. The DNA molecule is about 2 nanometers across. The DNA structure consists of a double helix, which is like a rope ladder that's been twisted. Looking closely to the DNA molecule, we finally begin to see individual atoms. Stop. Pick an atom. Any atom. Okay, that one. That's what we call a hydrogen atom, which is the smallest atom of the periodic table. Study down here at this level is called chemistry. So if you're studying biology, you're studying the complex chemistry of life. Atoms are super, super, super small.
So students, I hope that you all know what is the atom and how small is an atom actually is. So now students, let us move into the next topic, which is about the symbol of elements. So we know that atom is the smallest part of any element of any matter. But how to represent the atom? So for that, the first representation was given by the John Dalton, and what is actually the meaning of the symbol. So here the symbol is what? It is a shorthand notation or the representation of any element. Just for an example, if I talk about hydrogen, so the first thing that goes into your mind is the symbol like this. So here this is what? This is the alphabet of English language, that is H. So do we use this right now? At the earlier times, John Dalton gave the symbol of elements in the form of sketches. Before Dalton, many other philosophers also gave the symbol for elements, but here in the chemistry we are dealing only with the John Dalton symbols. So first of all, we are dealing with the John Dalton symbols that are in the form of sketches, not in the form of the alphabets. And then we will move into the modern systems that we are using today, which was given by the J.J. Berzelius in the form of letters of English alphabets or the Latin languages. So here John Dalton symbols are not used at all because they are somewhat complicated to draw. We are going to see that if we are going to form the compounds, how complicated that would look like. So here just reading that he gave the representation in the form of sketches. So Dalton was the first to represent the elements. So how he represented the elements? He represented the elements in the form of this, and they are what? They are of the historical importance. They are not used at all. But remember students, some of the symbols of Dalton's, which Dalton gave in his famous atomic theory. They were asked in the NTSC examination previous year, that is in the 2019. That is, the question was asked, what is the symbol given by Dalton for the hydrogen element? So here you remember some of the elements, and here you see the list of the elements that was given by the Dalton for the representation of elements. So here you see, students, just for an example, here few elements that we need to remember their symbols. So for the carbon we use just like this, that is, you can see here, students, that is the black, a circle which is purely black, because the color of carbon is what? It is black. Just for an example, if we see coal, this is what? That is the carbon. So here the symbol for carbon is what? That is the black circle. The symbol for hydrogen is a circle with a dot in the center. For oxygen, since oxygen is a gas, so he used only the circle with nothing inside it. Nothing inside it. For the nitrogen, you need to remember, students, for the nitrogen we have used, the Dalton have used the symbol like this. For sulfur and for the phosphorus, it may seems like the Mercedes symbols to you, but here this was the symbol for the phosphorus which was given by the John Dalton. So here, students, if I want to draw the structure for the water, if I am going to write, so how I am going to write the water, which you know that is H2O, it consists of 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. So according to the John Dalton, how am I going to make it? So for that I need to remember what? I need to remember the symbol for hydrogen and the symbol for oxygen. So this could be like this. So students, you see here, this is what? This is the H2O or the water. So here this becomes somewhat complicated. If I talk about, if I want to represent the glucose molecule, that is C6H12O6. So here for drawing the C6H12O6, it would become much more complicated. So here these symbols are of the historical importance. They are not used at all in the today's representation of symbols. So now, students, moving to the next representation of elements, which was given by the J.J. Berzelius. He gave the representation of elements in the form of letters. And how and which language letters he uses? He either uses the English language letters or the Latin languages or the Greek languages letter. So here the symbol of an element is the first letter or the first letter and the another letter of the English name or the Latin name of the element. So the J.J. Berzelius gave the symbol for representation of elements, and how he gave, for that, students, we are going to move into this and see that how he gave the representation of elements. So students, talking about the element, for the symbols we used either only one letter or we could use 2 letters. So for the one letter, if you are writing any symbol with the one letter, that letter should be what? The letter should be capital. And if we are writing the symbol with the help of 2 letters, so the first letter would be capital, while the second letter would be small. So you need to remember, students, either we could write it with the help of the first letter or with the 2 letters. The another representation of element is also given and recommended by the IUPAC, that is the 3 letter. So here we are going to use the 3 letters also in the periodic classification of elements, chapter number 2nd of class 10. So in that chapter you are going to see that we are representing the elements in the 3 letters. So how the 3 letters been used, we are taking an example for each of them. Just for example, if I talk about, say, hydrogen. So for hydrogen we are using what? A single letter, that is H, and since it is a single letter, it is written in the form of capitals. Talking about the 2 letter symbols, just for example, if I talk about the calcium, so for calcium what I am writing, the first letter which is capital, which is followed by another letter which is small. So here this is 2 letter symbol. Now talking about the 3-letter system. So 3-letter system is used for those elements whose name or whose property is not determined or not given by any scientist, or which is not recommended by the IUPAC, that is International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry. So till all the research is being done for the particular element, we are not giving it any name or the symbol. So for that we are using the symbols which was given by IUPAC. That is, for an example, suppose students, if 119th element being discovered, so its symbol would be what? Its symbol would be UUE. So students, this is what? This is the symbol for 119th element, or the elements whose name or whose symbol was not recommended by the IUPAC. So for that we are going to use this kind of symbol. So this symbol is not of use for us in the 9th class standard. We are going to see that in the periodic classification of elements in the class 10th. So here we are going to deal with these 2-letter system, that is the 1-letter system which should be in the capital, and the 2-letter system in which 1 letter should be the capital, while the another letter which is being followed by the first letter, it should be the small one. So students, here you are going to see some of the examples, that is talking about the hydrogen. So its symbol is what? Taking the H from the Latin language, that is hydrogenium, its symbol would be H. Talking about the carbon, its Latin name is what? Carbonium, and for that we are taking here the first letter and writing the symbol as the C. These are some of the symbols. Now talking about the copper, so for the copper the Latin name is cuprum, and if we take the C from here, it would be similar to the carbon symbol. So for that and for the difference in both of these, we have taken the 2-letter system, that is the capital C, which is being followed by another letter, that is U. So here the symbol for copper is Cu. Now talking about the nitrogen, it is taken from the nitrogenium, which is a Latin word, and its symbol is capital N because it is a 1-letter symbol. Talking about the oxygen, that is the oxygenium from the Latin word, and its symbol is O. Now talking about the sodium and sulfur. So for sulfur we are going to write the symbol S, and for the sodium we cannot write the symbol as we have taken the symbol as for the sulfur. So for the sodium, its Latin name is natrium, and from this natrium word we have taken the 2-letter symbol, that is Na. Talking about the potassium, its Latin name is kalium, and its symbol would be K. So remember students, these are some of the symbols that are very important to you. So these are the symbols. Now moving into some more symbols that you come across in the chemistry and you need to remember as per your class 9th standard, that is talking about the calcium. So for the calcium the symbol is what? The symbol is Ca, and it is taken from the Latin word, that is the calx. For the chromium we have used the chrome word from the Latin language, and we have used the symbol as Cr. Now students, take a look here that we are not taking the first letter followed by the second letter. Here we have taken the first letter followed by any another letter. So here the C, the first letter, while the third letter is the R. So here we have taken the third letter, that is C and R. Remember this students, that we are not only taking first 2 letters, we are taking, or simple, the first 2 alphabets, we are taking the first alphabet or the first letter which is followed by the any another alphabet or letter. So here talking about the krypton, it is taken from the kryptos, and its symbol is Kr. So these are some of the languages that are from which it is taken, either the English language, the Latin language, or the Greek languages. Talking about the antimony, silicon, mercury, and iron. So the Latin and the Greek languages are the stibium, silex, hydrogyrum, and ferrum. And their symbol is what? Their symbol is, just for an example, you have taken the S from here and B from here in the antimony, so its symbol becomes Sb. For silex, that is for the silicon, its symbol becomes Si. For the hydrogyrum, that is for the mercury, we have taken the H from here and the G from here. So here its symbol becomes hydrogyrum. And for the ferrum, we have taken the Fe. So I hope students that these symbols are clear to you, because in the symbols we are using the first letter which is followed by any another letter, not the second letter always. So I hope students that these symbols are clear to you. Learn these symbols of some elements. Not all the 100 elements you need to remember right now. as the time passes and as you move further in your studies, you are automatically going to remember all the 118 elements with their symbols. So for now, you need to remember first 20 elements at least with their symbols. So now students, it's time to move into the last topic, that is the significance of the symbols of element. That what does the symbols signify? So here if I am writing the symbol for an element, say for the hydrogen. So for the hydrogen, the symbol I write here as the H that we are going to use in the modern day scenario. So here H represents what? If I only see H, so it represents what? It represents the name of the element. It also represents one atom of the element. If only H is written, it is clear to me that it is representing either the name of the element, or it will be representing one atom of the element, or it will be representing a particular mass of an element. So here that particular mass would be termed as the atomic mass. So there are different types of atomic masses like relative atomic masses, gram atomic masses, and many other. We are going to see that in the details. It also represents a fixed number of atoms present here. That is, it also represents 1 mole of atoms, which has, that is 6.02 into 10 to the power 23. So here this number is termed as 1 mole. So here if only symbol is written, it is clear that it signifies that 1 mole also be seen from here. So here not only it gives me the information about the name, the atom, it also gives me the information about the 1 mole of atom of any element whose symbol is given to you. As I have told you students, it also gives me about the definite mass of the element. So these are the significance of the symbol of element. So I hope students that this particular lecture is very clear to you. In this we have talked about the atoms, we have seen the Dalton's atomic theories with its postulates, with its merits and with its demerits. We also talk about the atoms and see in actual that how small is an atom is, and also we move into the symbol of elements. We have seen the previous way of representation of elements, that is by the Daltons in the form of sketches, and we have moved into the modern way of representation of elements, that is in the form of letters. So now students, this lecture has ended here. We are going to meet you in the second lecture with the new concepts. Till then students, thank you all.